Laura wiped her hands on her scrubs as she leaned against the kitchen counter, exhaustion clinging to her like a second skin. Just another day, she muttered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the refrigerator. The cozy house she shared with her 12-year-old daughter, Emily, was their safe haven, albeit a modest one. The scent of lavender lingered faintly in the air, a comfort after her grueling shifts as a nurse. But peace was often a fleeting guest here, especially with Gertrude, her ex-mother-in-law, living too close for comfort. "Laura, dear," Gertrude's voice sliced through the stillness like a knife, sharp and uninvited. "Don't you think Emily's hair is a bit wild?" Laura bit back, the retort rising in her throat, gripping the counter to steady herself. "It's just hair, Gertrude. She likes it that way. In my day, young ladies knew how to present themselves properly," Gertrude huffed, her disapproval palpable. Laura forced a tight smile. "Well, this isn't your day, is it?" It was moments like these that tested her patience to its limits. Thank goodness for Sarah, her best friend and fellow nurse, who often doubled as her therapist over coffee. "Girl, I don't know how you deal with that old bat," Sarah had said just yesterday, shaking her head in disbelief. "You've got the patience of a saint." "Trust me," Laura had laughed, "it's wearing thin." There were bright spots, though, like Michael, her neighbor, a kind soul with a knack for showing up when she needed help most. He was impossible to ignore, with his easy smile and the way his t-shirts hugged his shoulders just so. "Hey, Laura, need a hand with that?" he'd call out, always at the right time, like when she struggled with boxes in the driveway. "Thanks, Michael." "You're a lifesaver," she'd reply, willing herself not to notice too much. But every glance held a flicker of unspoken possibilities. Yet the real storm always revolved around Emily. Her daughter's vibrant curls were as much a part of her personality as her sharp wit and boundless creativity. But Gertrude seemed to make it her mission to stifle that spark. "Emily, sit up straight. A lady doesn't slouch," she scolded during dinner one evening, her tone like nails on a chalkboard. Emily's shoulders sagged even more, her eyes pleading. "Mom, do I have to listen to her?" Laura sighed, glancing between them. "Just try your best, sweetie." But inside, she seethed, the tightrope she walked between maintaining peace and protecting her daughter fraying more with each interaction. And then came the night everything shattered. Laura came home after a double shift, her body begging for rest, only to be greeted by a suffocating silence. "Emily, sweetie, I'm home," she called out, setting her bag down. No response. Dread coiled in her stomach as she climbed the stairs. When she opened Emily's bedroom door, her heart dropped. There was her daughter, curled up on the bed, her body racked with sobs. But it wasn't the tears that stopped Laura cold, it was Emily's hair. Gone. Every beautiful curl. "Mom," Emily cried, flinging herself into Laura's arms. "Grandma did it. She shaved it all while I was sleeping." Laura's arms tightened around her daughter, her own tears threatening to spill. "Shoo, baby. It's okay. We'll fix this." But inside, she was a volcano, fury erupting and threatening to consume her. Storming into the living room, Laura found Gertrude sitting calmly, her hands folded neatly in her lap. "What the hell did you do?" Laura's voice shook with rage. Gertrude didn't even flinch. "What needed to be done?" she said coldly. That child was becoming far too vain and disobedient. "She's 12!" Laura shouted, her fists clenched. "This isn't discipline, it's assault. I'm calling the police." "Don't be dramatic," Gertrude sneered, rising from her chair. Someone had to step in before she turned into a delinquent like her father. That was the breaking point. "Get out! Now!" Laura's voice cracked, but the strength in her words was undeniable. "Gladly," Gertrude snapped, gathering her things. "You'll regret not listening to me." As the door slammed shut behind her, Laura sank to the floor, her body trembling. The weight of what had just happened crushed her, tears spilling freely down her cheeks. A knock at the door jolted her. Michael stood there, concern etched across his face. "Laura, I heard shouting. Is everything okay? She couldn't speak, only pointing toward Emily's room. Michael followed her gaze, and when he saw Emily, his face hardened. Oh my God! Who did this? Laura's voice trembled. Gertrude! That's it, Michael said, his voice firm. I'm calling the police. No! Emily's voice broke through, her sobs returning. I don't want anyone to see me like this. Laura held her close. It's okay, baby. We won't do anything you're not comfortable with. Before she could say more, her phone buzzed. It was Sarah. Laura, what's going on? I got your voicemail. Minutes later, Sarah burst through the door, bags in hand. Okay, I've got hats, scarves, and the cutest pixie cut ideas. We're going to fix this, together. The night had brought chaos, but in that moment, surrounded by love and support, Laura felt a glimmer of hope. They would get through this, one curl, one laugh, one moment at a time. Emily gave a weak smile, her tired eyes fighting to stay open as Sarah worked tirelessly to try and salvage what remained of her hair. The room was heavy with the weight of the situation. As Sarah continued her delicate task, I filled Michael in on everything, the horrifying history with Gertrude playing on a loop in my mind. How could I have let that woman anywhere near my daughter? The self-loathing crept in like a shadow, threatening to consume me. Michael gently squeezed my hand. This isn't your fault, Laura, he said, his voice steady. You were just trying to do the best for Emily. Sarah nodded, offering a fierce resolve. The only person to blame here is that old bat Gertrude. I wanted to believe that, but guilt gnawed at my insides, relentless. How could I have been so blind? As the night dragged on, Emily eventually drifted into a restless sleep. Sarah and Michael, ever the pillars of support, insisted on staying, camping out in the living room. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning with a single promise. Gertrude would pay. There was no question about it. My baby girl deserved justice, and I would make sure she got it. The following days bled together in a haze of tears, anger, and sleepless nights. Emily refused to leave her room, too ashamed to face the world, let alone go back to school. I called in sick, there was no way I was leaving her side. Sweetie, you can't hide forever, I said softly, sitting at the edge of her bed. I look like a freak, Mom, Emily sobbed, her voice cracking. Everyone's going to laugh at me. My heart shattered at the sound. No, baby, I whispered, holding her close. You're beautiful, inside and out. We'll get through this together. Our first stop was the police station. But my hope quickly turned to dust. I'm sorry, ma'am, the officer said with a bored expression. Since there's no physical harm, this is a civil matter. No physical harm? My blood boiled. Look at my daughter. But there was no point in arguing with him. The rules were the rules. Next up, a lawyer. We can definitely pursue charges for emotional abuse, he said. We can even sue for damages, but it won't be easy. I didn't care. I wanted Gertrude's head on a platter. Through all of it, Sarah stood by me, helping me document everything. Photos, timelines, nothing was left unchecked. We're going to nail that old witch to the wall, Sarah declared with determination, and I felt a fire ignite within me. Meanwhile, Michael was pulling some strings of his own. I've got a buddy who specializes in family law, he said. He's top-notch. He's willing to take your case pro bono. I wanted to kiss him right then and there, but there was no time for that. Things were about to get messy, eh? It all started with whispers. Glances from neighbors. The phone calls from distant relatives. Laura, is it true you've been neglecting Emily? My cousin asked one afternoon. That was when I realized Gertrude had gone on the offensive. She's telling everyone I'm an unfit mother, I raged to Sarah and Michael. That witch is trying to turn everyone against me. But Gertrude had underestimated me. I wasn't going to back down. I dug deep, calling old babysitters, family friends, anyone who had interacted with Gertrude and Emily. What came out made my blood run cold. Grandma said if I told you she'd send me away to boarding school, Emily confessed one night, her eyes brimming with tears. She used to lock me in the closet when I misbehaved. I held her close, fury and guilt warring within me. How had I missed this? It's not your fault, sweetie, I whispered. But I promise you, Grandma will never hurt you again. With Sarah and Michael's help, we hatched a plan. Hidden cameras went up around the house. We coached Emily on how to gather evidence, just in case Gertrude tried anything else. Remember, kiddo, Michael said, showing Emily how to use the voice recorder on her phone. If Grandma calls or comes over, you hit this button right away. Emily nodded solemnly. I won't let you down, Mom. You can never let me down, baby, I replied, pulling her into a tight hug. We're in this together. As we finalized our preparations, a grim sense of purpose settled over me. Gertrude thought she could bully and manipulate her way to victory. She had no idea what was coming. This mama bear was ready to fight, and I wasn't about to lose. All right, team, I said, looking at Sarah and Michael. Let's take this witch down. The trap was set. Now, all we had to do was wait for Gertrude to make her move. And when she did, we'd be ready. The day of the trial arrived, and I felt like I was going to throw up. Emily squeezed my hand as we walked into the courtroom, her voice soft but steady. You got this, Mom, she whispered, her belief in me like a lifeline. Our lawyer presented a mountain of evidence. The hidden camera footage was damning, showing Gertrude barging into our home, screaming at Emily. You ungrateful little brat, Gertrude's voice echoed, her venom clear. I'll teach you to disobey me. I saw the judge's face darken, but that was only the beginning. One by one, witnesses took the stand, former babysitters, family friends, even Emily's old piano teacher. Each of them shared stories of Gertrude's cruelty. She told me if I didn't make Emily practice for 3 hours a day, she'd have me fired, the piano teacher testified, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. But the real kicker was Emily's testimony. My brave girl stood up there, her voice shaking but determined. Grandma said if I ever told Mom what she did, she'd make sure I was taken away, Emily said, tears streaming down her face. I couldn't hold back my own tears. How had I missed this? Gertrude's lawyer tried to paint her as a concerned grandmother, but it was too late. The truth had come out. When the judge finally announced his decision, I nearly collapsed with relief. This court grants a permanent restraining order against the defendant, he declared. Furthermore, significant damages are awarded for the plaintiff's therapy and emotional distress. Gertrude was out of our lives for good. Outside the courtroom, Gertrude approached us, tears in her eyes. Laura, Emily, I'm so sorry, she began, her voice trembling. I cut her off, coldly. Save it, Gertrude. You're dead to us. As we walked away, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The next few months weren't easy, but we made it through, together. Emily began therapy, slowly coming out of her shell. One night, as we sat around the dinner table with Sarah and Michael, Emily made an announcement. I want to donate the money from the lawsuit, she said, her voice steady, to help other kids like me. I couldn't have been prouder. As for me and Michael, let's just say he became a permanent fixture in our lives. His steady support through everything meant the world to us. The real turning point came 6 months after the trial. Emily and I were at the hair salon, and for the first time since the incident, she was excited about her hair. What do you think about purple streaks, Mom? She asked, her eyes shining. I grinned. I think purple streaks sound awesome, baby. As the stylist worked her magic, I caught Emily's eye in the mirror. She was smiling. Really smiling. For the first time in months. You know what, Mom? She said. I think we're going to be okay. I squeezed her hand. Yeah, baby. We're going to be just fine. Looking at my daughter, her bold new hairstyle a testament to her resilience, I knew we had come out the other side stronger than ever. Gertrude had tried to break us. But instead, she had only made us unbreakable. As we left the salon, heads held high, I realized something important. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about living well, on your own terms. And that's exactly what we intended to do. If you were in Laura's shoes, would you ever consider forgiving Gertrude for her actions, or do you believe some betrayals are truly unforgivable?